Wife handed me marriage rules the morning after our wedding. I called a divorce lawyer before breakfast was over. I am Knox 32M, and I just lived through the weirdest 48 hours of my entire life, still processing what the hell happened. So bear with me while I try to make sense of this. I got married this past Saturday to Shiloh 29F. We had been together 2 years, and honestly, it felt like I would hit the relationship lottery. She is an event planner here in Austin, smart as hell, gorgeous, shared my sense of humor, never tried to change me. We had this easy chemistry that everyone commented on. Friends always said we were couple goals and shit like that. The wedding was perfect. I mean, she planned it, so of course it was flawless. Beautiful venue, great food, our families got along. The whole deal. I remember looking at her during our vows, thinking this is it, this is my person. We had an amazing night, went to bed as this happy married couple. Sunday morning, I am making coffee and eggs, feeling pretty damn good about life. Shiloh comes downstairs in her robe, sits at the kitchen table, and pulls out this folded piece of paper. "I have something for you," she says, sliding it across the table. I am thinking it is a sweet note or something. Instead, it is a typed document titled Marriage Rules for Knox, in bold letters at the top. I swear I'm not exaggerating, the whole thing was itemized, like she'd written a corporate policy manual for our marriage, page after page of rules. No poker nights with the guys, because married men shouldn't do that. No beer in the house because it sets the wrong tone. We were supposed to have mandatory couples workout sessions 3 times a week. Any purchase over $50 required spousal approval. I wasn't allowed to keep in touch with any single male friends, because they were a bad influence. There was even a detailed weekly cleaning schedule and a rule that I had to be home by 6 every night, unless she approved otherwise. And the cherry on top, we were only allowed to have joint social media accounts. There were 12 rules total, 12, typed out, numbered. Like she had been working on this document for weeks. I looked up at her, thinking she had to be joking. "Babe, what is this?" "These are reasonable expectations for a married man," she said, completely serious. "I have put a lot of thought into what kind of household we should run." The woman I had been with for 2 years, who had never once tried to control what I did, who laughed at my stupid jokes and encouraged my friendships, was sitting there talking like my new manager. "Is this a joke?" I asked. "Marriage is about compromise and structure. Knox, these guidelines will help us build a strong foundation." That is when something clicked in my brain. This wasn't the woman I had dated. This wasn't even close to the woman I had married 36 hours earlier. "Rule number 1, I said, standing up. "This marriage is over. I am calling a lawyer." Her face went white. "You cannot be serious." Dead serious. I didn't marry a dictator, and I sure as hell didn't sign up to become someone's project. I grabbed my keys and drove to my buddy Camden's house to figure out what the hell had just happened to my life. Been staying at his place since Sunday. Shiloh's been calling and texting nonstop, saying we need to work through this like adults. But here is the thing. I have seen enough controlling relationships to know this isn't something you work through. This is someone showing you exactly who they are. Am I crazy for wanting to end a 2-day marriage over this? Because right now it feels like I married a complete stranger who was just really good at acting for 2 years. Update: one phone died yesterday and I had to get a new one, which was actually a blessing because Shiloh had been blowing it up non-stop. The number of voicemails saying I am overreacting was getting ridiculous. But something happened that changes everything about this situation. Monday night, Shiloh shows up at Camden's place. I am talking full tears, apologies, the whole performance. "It was just a test," she says. "I wanted to see how you would react to boundaries. I didn't mean any of it, a test." She called our marriage a test. "Babe, I know you have commitment issues because of your parents' divorce," she is saying through tears. "I thought if I could see how you handled conflict, we could work through anything." Part of me wanted to believe her. Marriage is supposed to be for better or worse, right? Maybe I did overreact. Maybe this was some weird insecurity thing she would work through. Then Camden's girlfriend Lisa came home. She had been at dinner with her sister, who happens to be friends with Shiloh's sister Emma. "Knox, I need to tell you something," Lisa says, pulling me aside. Emma told me some stuff tonight that you need to hear. Turns out Emma felt guilty about what happened and spilled everything to Lisa. This wasn't a test. This wasn't some weird insecurity moment. This was a planned strategy. Shiloh's mom, Patricia, had apparently given her a whole game plan. Wait until after the wedding to establish proper boundaries. Men will agree to anything when they are in love, but once they are legally committed, you can start building the marriage you actually want. Emma said Shiloh had been working on those rules for months, had the document saved on her laptop, revised it multiple times, even practiced how she would present it. The woman I dated for 2 years, that was an act. A deliberate performance designed to get me to marry her so she could reveal who she actually was. When I confronted Shiloh with this information, her whole story fell apart. Okay, fine, she said. I did get advice from my mom, but Knox, those rules would have made us stronger. I was trying to help you become the best version of yourself. The best version of myself is the version you pretended to love for 2 years. I do love you. I just think marriage should mean we both become better people. Better according to who? You. She couldn't answer that. Because the truth is, she never loved the actual me. She loved the idea of molding me into whatever she thought a husband should be. I have been talking to a lawyer. Apparently, deliberately misrepresenting yourself to induce marriage is actually grounds for annulment in Texas. Not divorce. Annulment, like the whole thing never happened. Started the paperwork yesterday. Shiloh's threatening to fight it, saying I am being dramatic and cruel. But honestly, I would rather be dramatic and free than understanding and trapped. Update 2: Shiloh hired her own lawyer and is fighting the annulment hard. She is demanding spousal support, claiming I seduced her into marriage under false pretenses, and then abandoned her without attempting reconciliation. The audacity is honestly impressive. She is arguing that her rules were reasonable marital expectations, and that my refusal to discuss them shows I was never serious about the commitment. But here is where it gets really wild. Last Tuesday, she showed up at my office during lunch. Just walked into the lobby of my company like she worked there. We need to discuss this like adults, she announced, loud enough for half the floor to hear. You cannot just throw away a marriage because you don't like boundaries. My coworkers are staring. My boss is wondering what is happening. And Shiloh's standing there acting like I am, the unreasonable one for not wanting to be controlled. This is neither the time nor the place. I told her. You will not answer my calls or texts. What choice do I have? The choice to respect that I ended this marriage for good reason. Security had to escort her out, but not before she shouted, ask him about his commitment issues. Ask him why he runs from any woman who has standards. My boss pulled me aside afterward. I explained the situation, showed him photos of the rules document. His response, Jesus Christ, Knox. Good thing you found out fast. But the workplace drama was just the beginning. Shiloh's been telling our mutual friends that I blindsided her with divorce papers and refused to work on our marriage. She is conveniently leaving out the part about the rules list. Camden's been doing damage control, sharing screenshots of the rules with people who know us. The reactions have been enlightening. Some of our friends are horrified. She hid this for 2 years. Others are actually taking her side. Marriage is about compromise. Knox, maybe you should have tried counseling first. The annulment hearing is next week. My lawyer says we have a strong case because Shiloh's own family members are willing to testify about the deliberate deception. Apparently, Emma feels guilty enough about keeping quiet that she is prepared to tell the court about her mom's advice and Shiloh's months of planning. But the part that really gets me is how she is doubling down on everything. No apologies, no acknowledgement that presenting rules to control your spouse might be fucked up. She genuinely believes she was in the right. Last night I got a text from her. I was trying to build something beautiful with you. All I wanted was a husband who would grow with me instead of staying stagnant. But you chose your pride over our love. Our love. As if love means accepting someone's attempt to control and change everything about your life. I keep thinking about those 2 years we dated. How many times was she biting her tongue? How many times did she want to correct me or control me but held back because we weren't married yet? It is like I was dating a completely fictional character, And the real Shiloh only felt safe to emerge once she thought she had me legally trapped. The hearing's Monday, whatever happens. I know I made the right call. Better to be single and free than married and miserable. Final update: court hearing happened Monday. I will not lie. Walking into that courthouse felt surreal as hell. 2 weeks married, already fighting for an annulment. Not exactly how I pictured my life going, but it ended better than I could have hoped. My lawyer presented everything. The rules document, testimony from Emma about the planning, even text messages between Shiloh and her mom discussing strategies for training husbands. Yes, training. Like I was a dog. Shiloh's lawyer tried to argue that the rules were normal marital expectations, and that I was abandoning the marriage without good faith effort at reconciliation. Then the judge asked Shiloh directly, "Mrs. Mercer, did you deliberately conceal these expectations during your courtship?" I watched her struggle with this question. She could lie under oath, or admit to the deception. I wanted to wait until we were married to discuss how we would structure our household. I thought it would be more appropriate after we made the commitment. And you never mentioned any of these rules during your 2-year relationship? No, Your Honor. But that is because I was still figuring out what kind of wife I wanted to be. The judge looked at the rules list for a long moment. "Mrs. Mercer, these aren't household structures. These are restrictions on your husband's personal autonomy, friendships, and decision-making. Did you believe he would have agreed to marry you if he had known about these expectations?" Silence. Long, telling silence. I believed that marriage would help him see the value in these boundaries. And that was it. Game over. The judge granted the annulment based on fraudulent inducement. No spousal support, no division of assets. Legally, our marriage never happened. But the real karma came after the hearing. Turns out, several of Shiloh's event planning clients were in the courthouse that day for unrelated matters. They overheard enough of the proceedings to get curious about what kind of person they had hired to plan their weddings. Word spread through Austin's wedding planning community that Shiloh was the woman who tried to control her husband with written rules. Not exactly the reputation you want in an industry built on trust and relationships. Her business partner Lisa reached out to me yesterday. Apparently, Shiloh's been a nightmare to work with since the hearing. Paranoid that everyone's talking about her. Defensive about every client interaction. Constantly justifying her traditional marriage values to people who didn't ask. She is sabotaging every client relationship we have, Lisa told me. I am buying out her half of the business because I cannot afford to have her toxicity associated with my name. Camden said he saw Shiloh at a coffee shop last week, sitting alone, going through job listings on her laptop. Her social media went quiet. Most of our mutual friends have stopped engaging with her posts. As for me, life's been pretty good. Actually, my boss was so impressed with how I handled the workplace drama that he offered me a promotion. Anyone who can make that kind of decisive boundary-setting decision under pressure is leadership material, he said. I have been dating someone new. Met her at a work conference 3 weeks ago. She is a UX designer. Funny as hell. And when I told her about the rules situation, her response was, "Jesus, Knox. That is not a wife, that is a prison warden." The best part, she has her own friends, her own hobbies, her own life that doesn't revolve around controlling mine. Novel concept, apparently. I am not bitter about what happened with Shiloh. Honestly, I am grateful. Better to find out someone's true nature after 2 days of marriage than 2 years. She did me a favor by showing her cards so early. The whole experience taught me something valuable. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them immediately. Don't negotiate with it. Don't try to understand it. Don't make excuses for it. Just accept the information and act accordingly. Shiloh thought marriage gave her permission to control me. Instead, it gave me legal grounds to escape her completely. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. You just have to let it go. I am back to being myself. Poker nights with the guys. Beer in my fridge. Friends who actually know and like the real me. Turns out the best version of myself was the version I already was, before someone tried to improve me. Best $5,000 I ever spent on legal fees. Freedom's worth every penny.